The girl tells the guy to calm down since they are on the battlefield. He is very aggressive. Every day for her is a struggle with this mad dog. However, this time she managed to calm him down faster than last time. The girl pushes him away, but the guy feels embarrassed. He wants her to be close. It's this desire that makes it impossible for them to get closer. The girl thinks again about leaving her service for good. She doesn't understand why her life has become this way. All of the girl's troubles began when she was assigned a certain mission. One day, she approached the chief priestess, the highest spiritual rank of the temple where she served. The hierarchy of the clergy in the Lakleon Church is quite simple. 7 sons of God make up the high priests, the archpriests oversees all temples, and the chief priests heads in each temple. There was no place for girls in this system, as she was just an ordinary priestess. In those days, when she was young and naive, she was filled with happiness and confidence that she was unworthy of the honor bestowed upon her. The more time Diren spent serving at the temple, the more problems arose. Each day became increasingly torturous for her. After a year of service, she realized that it was difficult for her to cope with it all. The girl didn't come from a wealthy family, so she worked herself to the bone for 7 years. During that meeting, the chief priestess reminded her that many years had passed since they all embarked on the path of serving the Lord together. And Diren, having overcome all difficulties, had grown into a beautiful young woman. However, she understood that throughout all these years, she had been given the most challenging and cruel tasks because she was unfortunate enough to be born into a poor family. She knew she would never be promoted. Instead, they would continue to assign her the dirtiest work. In the beginning, she tried to resist. She argued, refused, and threw tantrums. However, in the end, she realized it was better to behave quietly. Diren asks the chief priestess how she can help him. He calls her a true role model and assures her that she will help him immensely by completing one small task to help a young gentleman integrate into society who is suffering from the severe consequences of war. The girl doesn't want to hear anything about war. She is just a simple priestess. The chief priestess assures her that this young man needs the Lord's help more than anyone else. Diren thinks about how only those who have been to war know how it poisons a person. Simple church servants healed the bodies and souls of wounded warriors but did so only so they could continue fighting. No one thought about whether they would be able to return to normal life after the war or not. The girl understands that when the highest clergy and patrons of the church show interest in something, it usually promises some benefit. And if they are sending an experienced priestess on a mission, then the situation is quite serious and this young man's status is higher than just an ordinary aristocrat. The chief priestess tells the girl that it is essential to extend a helping hand to someone in need. Diren fears for her life. She doesn't want to carry out this assignment, although 7 years ago she would have obeyed without hesitation. She understands that the chief priestess wants to use her, so she asks what she will receive in return. She wants a real, tangible reward from this dangerous task. The chief priestess realizes he will have trouble if the girl refuses. He reproaches her for still not having learned humility. Priestesses are forbidden from accepting money, it's a rule. Diren grew up in the temple, so she thought all her life that this was how it should be. She was grateful for food and a warm bed. She was ready to do everything she was asked. However, after being on the battlefield, where she faced danger many times, her view of the world changed. She doesn't want to live a life scraping by and working in vain. People are born alone and die alone, so Diren wants her life to have meaning. She will no longer allow anyone to use her. The chief priestess tells the girl that he has been watching her for a long time and knows that she is talented. He regrets that no one has noticed her efforts until now. If everything goes smoothly on this mission, everyone will recognize her merits. Diren is excited about the news that she has the opportunity to earn a place in the higher hierarchy. She agrees to the task, ready to go anywhere and immediately begin fulfilling her duties. The chief priestess, hearing her words, believes that she will succeed in the mission. He promptly sends her on the assignment and tells her to follow the instructions of her escorts, even though she will be acting alone. Finally, he informs her that the young gentleman who needs her help is a victorious hero from the 8th Battalion, the Berserkers. Diren realizes that this is the very person who indiscriminately kills both his enemies and his friends. The girl is frightened and surprised. She understands that she has fallen into a trap where a problem awaits her that she won't be able to handle. As Diren rides in the carriage to the young gentleman, she recalls all the horrors of war. The girl has just returned from the battlefield, but she feels herself being dragged back into hell. She wants to cry, but she can't. She has seen too much, so there are no more tears left. In the war between Lacleon and the neighboring state of Sorbonne, victory was constantly on the side of the latter. With each new battle, the morale of Lacleon's troops fell, and no one hoped for victory anymore. The war dragged on hopelessly until elite fighters appeared. No one knew where they came from or who they were. They fought like possessed individuals, acting with monstrous strength, and it was after their arrival that the tide of war changed. After battles, they would disappear. Allies called them saviors, while enemies referred to them as demons. Diren was grateful for their emergence, as she wanted the bloody war to end as soon as possible. However, at one point, everything changed. The saviors began to be called mad dogs. In battle, they were incredibly brutal, which is how they achieved victory. After that, the second son of the emperor became a hero. While the existence of the 8th Battalion was forgotten, they were dubbed lunatics. Everything was presented as a military success of the prince, the battalion evaporated, and their existence was forgotten. They were not only fierce dogs but also true heroes. Therefore, an order was given stating that they should be rewarded with titles and lands, rather than hidden from society. The imperial family commanded that they be healed and prepared to become worthy representatives of the Lacleon nobility. Such an order was issued to the church, which is why Diren was sent on this mission. The girl understands that it would take a dozen knights to stop just one of these warriors. She cannot handle him alone. She is frightened and doesn't know what to do. She must not only teach him how to behave like a human but also mold him into a noble gentleman. Lost in her thoughts, Diren forgets that she is riding in a carriage with Robin Turok. He is the third son of House Turok and a staff officer in the Lacleon army. The young man thanks the girl for agreeing to help. She knows that Robin Turok is a very capable young man. However, after the war, he was left without a role, so now he has been assigned to solve the problems of the 8th Battalion. The young man understands how difficult it was for Diren to agree to this mission and how many dangers await her, as she must face everything alone. Robin Turok hands the girl a whistle. He tells her to use it in case of danger and always carry it with her, as it was designed to calm the members of the 8th Battalion. The girl accepts this unusual gift. Upon arriving at the mansion where Diren will now live, Robin Turok explains the routine to her. The staff will come from his estate every day, cleaning and laundry will occur once a week, food will be delivered every 2 days, and security will always be present in the mansion, so if anything happens, she can turn to them. Robin reminds her to use the whistle and then leaves. The guards escort Diren into the mansion, after which she is left alone. She looks around and realizes that there is no one in the house. Nevertheless, the mansion is simply luxurious, and all the rooms are filled with works of art. Until now, Diren had lived in a tiny room, so she is even happy to be living in such a beautiful house now. The girl imagines herself walking through the mansion. Her spirits lift, and she joyfully dances while no one is watching. Suddenly, she notices the young gentleman from the 8th Battalion. He is sitting on the floor and growling fiercely. Debris from furniture and stones are scattered across the room. Diren does not understand if the guy is sane. She tries to approach him and speak to find out how rational he is. The girl attempts to introduce herself, but he lunges at her. Startled, Diren blows the whistle, after which the young gentleman collapses to the floor. She approaches him closer and tries to bring him to his senses. She fears she has killed him since he isn't moving. Suddenly, she notices marks on his neck from a rope that weren't there before. Diren suspects they appeared due to the whistle, causing him to fall unconscious from pain. She shifts him to make him more comfortable. He is very heavy, and his body is covered in muscles. The girl decides to rest while waiting for him to wake up, but unexpectedly notices other wounds on him. There isn't a single uninjured spot on his body. By nature, Diren is a very kind girl and always ready to help others. Therefore, she heals all of his wounds and bruises using her special power. She noticed it back in childhood but never told anyone because she understood that people would start to take advantage of her. She didn't want that. Suddenly, the guy wakes up and pushes the girl aside, breaking her nose in the process. Dairon is startled by his reaction and tries to explain that she was only trying to treat his wounds, which is why she had to remove his clothes. She approaches him and tells him that the treatment isn't over yet, so he needs to sit quietly for a little longer. Dairon suspects that his outburst of anger is a sign of severe overstimulation, as everyone in the 8th Battalion has an animal-like sensitivity. Because of this, the sound of her footsteps was unbearable for him. The girl is confident that with divine power, she will be able to calm him down. Dairon learns that the young man's name is Ceres. He doesn't understand some of her questions. Suddenly, he starts growling again, so Dairon decides to end the treatment for today and suggests they have dinner together. She leaves the room to bring food. She catches a pleasant aroma and rushes to the kitchen to find out what has been prepared for them. However, Dairon is unaware that besides her and Ceres, there is also a woman with a child named Sevian in the house. The boy's mother is waiting to meet Dairon and contemplates what kind of hero the one from the 8th Battalion will become and how great the evil surrounding him is. However, she is confident that they will make a wonderful person out of him. When Dairon returns, she finds Ceres covered in blood. The girl is very frightened and rushes to help him and remove the poison. However, she soon realizes that it's just juice that he spilled on himself. She apologizes to him, saying she was just scared. She didn't mean to scream and upset him. Yet Ceres starts growling again. Dairon is afraid and thinks he is going to kill her. She prays to God, hoping that he will hear her and help her. Suddenly, Ceres stops and tells her that all the food is poison. Dairon doesn't understand what just happened. She thinks that the poison hasn't affected Ceres yet, but she can't grasp how he knew about the substance in the dish. The guy replies that he realized it because of the specific taste. The girl is relieved that she didn't get a chance to try the food since Ceres lunged at the dishes and started eating like an animal, but she is very hungry and doesn't know what to do. Dairon tries to stay calm and push away dark thoughts of death. She must remain alert because she believes she can survive any situation. She tells Ceres to trust her and runs out of the room. She finds flour, carrots, and potatoes, which definitely don't have poison in them, and decides to cook a meal. Dairon doesn't know how to cook, as she never did it in the temple. All she remembers from her childhood is that vegetables need to be washed, and soup needs to be stirred. However, the girl has no choice. She starts boiling the soup, having previously summoned Lord Loren to the mansion.